Good afternoon, selamat tengah hari and salam sejahtera. I'm Abby from Malaysia Productivity Corporation, signing in to our very own Productivity Talk. Today is our 6th series with a very interesting topic, so stay tuned everyone. Okay, everyone. So our topic for today is Generation Imperative on Human Capital Management. And to share further about this topic, we have with us Dr. Shaik Roslinah Bux, Deputy Director from the Productivity and Competitiveness Development Division in MPC. So, good afternoon, Doctor.
Good afternoon.
How are you feeling today?
Good. I think we have to be good because the pandemic has been very challenging.
Yes, yeah. So we will move on with the topic for today.
Yep.
Right? So now, first question for you. Okay. So with today's changing workforce, many companies that compete on the global stage must rethink the way they manage people. So would you like to explain further on the details on human capital management and some perpetuating old approaches of HCM?
Okay, thanks Abby for the question. Like you aptly put it, with the changing scenario and changing demographics through the years, organizations that want to compete on the global setting must rethink the way they manage people.
Yep.
For the simple reason being, we have different generations now. People do not talk about it before, but there has been a big issue on the generation gap and the generation thinking differences among our parents, grandparents' time, even your children's time, and maybe the future children's time.
Yeah.
And there's some perpetuating old HCM, human capital management. Those days, remember, we call it HRM. Now we talk it capital. Why capital? Because like we find that people now are very knowledgeable. So they changed it from HRM to HCM.
HCM.
But there's certain things we do not change. Something like jobs are structured rigidly. Trainings are focused on functional skills when the actually competitiveness age for a workforce to be called a talent or to compete in the global scenario is to have soft skills.
Yep.
And causes for leadership development and career advancement not in sync with changing times. It's still the old way. And the other one is a big issue is compensation. Compensation systems do not adequately relate or link to performance. So that's why you find that a lot of HCM in many organizations fail to provide the decisive, the experienced and globally minded visionaries that they need. They always look at the MNCs, Google like that, oh, DG like that, cannot be like that. But we have to think, the nature of the business is such, they can be what they are.
Yeah.
But the culture of organizations, can we change that?
Yeah.
And the other issue is, you talk about people being the asset. I would say asset, what asset? Physical asset? Human asset? Human asset is different.
Yep.
It's just like a lot of the businesses now talk about humanizing the business. Because businesses has been very cold, C-O-L-D, cold, I would say, because they do treat people like robots. I think we have to be careful. Humans are not robots.
Yep.
And then they say innovation is the only way, the path to sustain breakthrough performance. But how many organizations actually, I would say, appreciate innovations? People who think differently from the rest.
Yeah.
That's the point we have to really think about
different.
it. Yes, being different. And like say you want to emulate Google. Oh, Google is different. They have a different way of business. But then again, you find that a lot of organizations now, they still have the model of a people management in the 20th century.
Right.
So imagine, you have the system in the 20th century and you work in the 21st century and you tell people, I appreciate what you are. Oh, do they really appreciate?
Yeah.
Because then we find that a lot of talent crunch. People talk about talent crunch. Shortage of talents. What do you mean talents? You know, those early years, we say talent what? Musician, singer. Very funny, isn't it? But talent is that, are you a talented engineer? Are you a talented, what do you call it, specialist doctor in your medical field? Talent. People can do it without, blinking the eye. They can just perform on the job without much prompting. Talent.
Talent.
What do you mean by talent? Then we have to really ask, do you understand what's talent?
Yeah.
And then we forget there's demographic changes. There's shifting attitudes among employees. It's not like, yesterday your father sit, I sit, you stand, you stand. Do we need to have that kind of workforce now, to be honest?
Yeah.
Then new priorities of global companies. When you compete globally, as the so-called the world opens up, you find that, oh, this company is doing this way. Can I do it? Then you rethink culturally within your organization. Do you have the kind of culture? Do you think you can change? And then not say emulate. You cannot copy exactly because different organizations, different culture. Can we adapt and adopt to our advantage? Benchmark in a way, yes. And then so they have to reform with deliberate changes in policies and practices.
Right? Okay. You've also answered the question of my question of describing current phenomena. So thank you for that. And next question that I might want to ask you would be explaining on the issues of commitment crunch.
Wow. Okay. Those days, early days, we always been told, good for you. You finally got a job.
Yeah.
So you must be grateful for that. And they have the job to rely on, deliver 100%.
Yep.
But then again, we for the last more than 10 years, we have a really unpleasant awakening that people, the loyalty of people to the organization is like changing. It's not that they are not loyal. It's not that they are not loyal. It's just that they have different ones, different perspective. And this issue of commitment crunch is, in fact, the early years, I was share with you in June 2007 to December 28. This was finding by the Center of Work-Life Policy, the declining of loyalty of employees from 95% to 39%. That's a drastic decrease. Of course, you say, oh, that time. But I tell you, towards far forward now, the so-called declining of loyalty has become more acute. More acute. It's not that because they are not appreciative of the job they have. They find that they do not have to be this tied to an organization because they want to be flexible. I'll share with you why the characteristics of a different generations.
Yes.
And then the trust. Interestingly, imagine you work in an organization, they find that the trust of the employees, the trust on the organization has also declined. So much of loyalty for the organization. And then, so far, so much so that in 2009, this is more than, how many years ago?
More than 10 years ago.
13 years ago.
Yeah.
They reported disenchantment and distrust. Very bad. It was very bad. People, one side, they want to find job for their livelihood, but on the other side, they don't trust. They don't feel good about working in the organization.
Safe.
They're just there for the sake of their rice bowl.
Money.
Not so much money. I'll share with you later.
Okay.
That organization across the board of people management approach are missing. They make it weaker.
Right.
So when you don't understand the people that you have in the organization, and you think you can so-called manage or is it control people in the way like how you manage robots, you lose the talent. Okay, so now they talk about, of course, in Malaysia, we have some exemplary organization as SP Setia Berhad, who had won the Aeon Hewitt's Best Employees Award twice.
I see.
Because they have a breakthrough performance, a superior competitive advantage. And of course, they have global reach. And the thinking is also wide.
Right.
And then they will notice that the generation imperative, I say, is, are you from the baby boomers? Are you from the Generation X? Generation Y? I'd like to share an addition add here is the Generation Z. We forgot, fast forward now, Generation Z is already in the market. Because Generation Z are those people born from 1995. So you calculate 27, some of them might be in the market now if they don't pursue further education. And additionally, why we have this so-called talent problem, generation gap, women have been sidelined for so long. You know, if you find, ironically, more than half the global educated workforce are women. But
Wow,
women,
really?
because of the old way of working, old way paradigm, choose to stay at home. This is wasted talent and wasted economic resources, so to speak. And Johnson & Johnson has identified women as pivotal group, and they have successfully piloted an initiative aimed at accelerating the career development. Even in Germany, Siemens AG launched a global leadership organization of women, which is called GLOW, to enlarge women's contribution to its business. That's the women part.
Right.
In Malaysia, we actually have developed new NIEW, which is Named Institute for Employment of Women, initiated by the Ministry of Women, Family and Community. I'm not sure whether it's still in. It was spearheaded by Tan Sri Rafia, the past UN Vice Chancellor before.
Ah, yes.
Okay, let's go back to the topic about the demographic change and globalization requires to tap on whatever resources available. And bear in mind, because of the globalization, people, especially in the lesser developed country, are now catching up with the development. Once they catch the development, they are now able to see what's happening in the developed world.
Right.
And they say, oh, you see, workforce in the Western world are treated better, so-called compared to Asia, so to speak, unless you're at MNCs. So this generation shift vary by region. Depends on which region you're in. But in the mature economies like Europe, Japan, North America, the baby boomers generation from 1946 to 1964, of course, you see, beginning to move out.
Yeah.
And from the workforce, because they are also find that some baby boomers refuse to retire.
Which generation are you?
I'm supposed to be the baby boomers, but I'm not due for retirement yet.
Okay.
So we have a swelling ranks of retirees. And then we also have another problem of low birth rates. We have low birth rates, means we have fewer younger generation to support the future of the economies of each country.
Yeah.
Then we have economic problem then.
Yeah.
Okay, in economies such as BRICS. You know what's BRICS now, Abby?
Brick?
BRICS, you know the BRICS? BRICS.
Oh, that breaks. No.
Brazil, India, China, Russia, and BRICS, it's BRICS. Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa.
Ah.
They are the very much developing markets now. And of course, they have different layer or level of development. They also having this problem of talent crunch. Of course, India say, the country with the most population, they are quite safe in the sense that they still have a big group of young people to support their economic growth compared to the major economies.
Yeah.
But China and Russia are facing a shrinking pipeline of young workers, especially China. You notice that China last time, one family, one child. So fast forward now, you find that, the so-called one child is now also growing old.
Yeah.
So when they grow old, they find that they have lesser young people to support the economies of the country. Now they are encouraging the so-called young Chinese couple to have more children. But because of the high cost of living and the high cost of how do you call that, to manage the family, the young couples are refusing to have more children.
Yeah.
So now China is in the dilemma of how to balance the future economic growth of the country and how do you manage the so-called aging population. And of course, how do you have more young people who could be the talent for the future?
Right.
But interestingly, I also read something else.
Yes.
China has a slightly edge in the sense that they don't have safety net.
Oh.
Because I read something is about the Chinese culture. You know, Chinese culture, I say, 恭喜发财, 恭喜发财. I would say, people say, what's 恭喜发财? Those days, they have really hard time in China. They have to fend for yourself. There's no safety net. The government doesn't pay you any so-called, like ours, we call it the Bantu Rakyat. No. In China, no. So that's why everything is
So they have
money.
to tend to themselves.
Yes, correct. So they work very hard. The money they really
Yeah,
save for it.
hardworking.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, correct. And then of course, all these countries need better educated level.
Right.
That's why now it's this trend that we must get our young people to be more educated,
Yeah.
so that they could find better jobs.
Yeah.
I'm sure our parents will say, go and study,
Yeah.
so they can find better job. You know,
Yes.
don't be like me. You know,
Become
especially
doctor.
people who work in the labor. You
Yeah.
will never, how say, improve the
Yeah.
the level of livelihood of the
Yeah.
family.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Mm.
So thank you for that explanation, Doctor. I think this will be my second last question. How do you think these changes will affect the generation now? And if it does, how can we understand the growing generation, like maybe Generation Z or Generation... Now it's the millennials, right?
Okay, let me share with you what I have noted here. Baby boomers, like I said, was born between 1946 to 1964. Expect to retire later because of changing management, or what they call it, the work scenario.
Yeah.
Then previous generation did because of expected increased life expectancy.
Yeah.
Then decreased savings
Decrease savings.
because of so-called affluent, they spend more, decreased savings, and extended a retirement age. And then next generation is Generation X. Generation X is supposed to be the smallest, born between 1965 to 1978. They represent the corporate bench strength. Because Generation X is deemed to be the shortest, short supply and ready to step into leadership position. So
Right.
sometimes you find our juniors want to take like, when are you
Leadership
going to retire? When are you going to retire? Okay, and for the millennial generation,
Yeah.
I think 10 years ago, we talked about the millennial generation,
Yeah.
Generation Y. People who were born between 1979 to 1994.
So I'm the millennial.
Yeah. But there's a start already. This Generation Y
Yeah.
start into this so-called ICT,
Yeah.
the
Technology.
but they have different attitude,
Yeah.
different expectations.
Yes.
They have more sense of social responsibility.
Yeah.
They offer service-oriented sabbaticals or ego-friendly workplaces. They will always look for that. So I say, Google, can we offer, so-called service-oriented sabbaticals? Companies have to ask
Service-oriented,
themselves.
Yeah.
And then eco-friendly workplaces.
Not many companies have that.
Yeah. So, but then again, you find that there's one common goal of the three generations, whether it's baby boomers, Generation X, Generation Y. They also look for greater flexibility.
Yeah.
Unlike what the management think, oh, you have the job with me, you better be loyal.
Work,
The kind of
yes.
thing.
Yeah.
And they dislike the old paradigm of lifetime employment. You always think lifetime employment, you work to the end, till
Yeah.
you retire. A rigid hierarchies.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And this is striking talent deals with the employees to balance work obligations and private life. And then, of course, pointers for appropriate 21st century human capital management model would be a discontinuous, no more, work from day one till you retire, discontinuous career progressions. And these young generations, they are very
Fond.
Don't say fond, they are more adventurous.
Yeah.
They may take sabbatical leave, go to something else, work in something else, and come back.
Oh. You mean
Or-
while in one company, they take a sabbatical leave and move on to the next
Something else,
company?
pursue something that they like.
Ah.
Or, there was once a noted trend where people will find all the money they need, the young people,
Yeah.
and then they retire early.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
Yes.
And then the other thing is we need to focus on is the cultural environment. Do we have the cultural environment that promote a diverse workforce, leveraging its capabilities to build competitive advantage? Now, bear in mind that a capability is not the same as a functional capacity. It's cross-functional, cutting across various lines of business. Okay. Now, there's also a trend called the gig economy. Geek. Because of the differences, when we talk about generation imperative, you find a lot of young people now retire early.
Yeah.
Or
Retire.
retire early in the sense that they want to move on to things that they enjoy,
Yeah.
things they want to do. That's why they call it the gig
Satisfaction.
economy. You know what's a gig economy, Abby?
I have no idea what is a gig economy.
Gig economy is like, it comes from a term from the musicians, where people actually take on, they can be professional.
Right.
We not think gig is like you're working at the Grab, the kind of, the low end. We talk about the professionals, whether you're a lawyer or you can be engineer, where you take on project base.
Okay.
Where you're paid by project.
Okay.
On the short-term basis.
Based on projects.
Yes, and short-term basis. And they enjoy it.
Yeah.
And this is the gig economy because they have the independence, the flexibility.
Sure.
And then fast forward now,
Yeah.
fast forward I can share with you is, when they do that, they feel respected. And they feel valued and recognized. Because when they deliver, it's them,
Accepted.
themselves. It's not like the companies.
Yeah. It's their hard work.
Correct. And then and we talk about the Generation Z. Generation Z, that's it was born from 1995 to now. They're called the 5E generation. You know what's the 5E generation?
No.
People who are electronically engaged.
Okay.
People who are educated.
Makes sense.
People who are entrepreneurial.
Right.
People who are empowered. And people who are environmentally conscious. Do you know who Greta Thunberg?
No.
Greta Thunberg is a well-known environmental activist from Swedish.
That small. That
Yeah,
girl.
no more small. She's no more young small. I think she belongs to Generation Z.
Yeah.
And those are the people going to be
She was at
running
the UN, right?
Yes. She's like, I think she,
Greta.
in the recent COP, conference on this environment thing in Glasgow.
Right. Yes.
A lot of
yes.
young people.
Yes.
She's able to
Yes.
get a lot of young people from different countries, different regions, come together and voice their opinion on businesses.
Even young celebrities are into. They are more towards naturalist.
Environmental conscious.
environmental friendly.
Yes.
Yeah.
So now you can actually go into the next thing called the ESG. To say now companies are desperate for ESG because in time to come, what's ESG? Environmentally, socially, and governance. They must be balanced for each company to compete in the global world.
Yeah.
And each company must have ESG to attract the talent, young people to work for them, because they feel that if you don't respect the environment, you don't respect the so-called social, and you don't have a proper governance, what is there to work for the company?
True.
So now, in fact, all companies, in fact, even Bursa Malaysia, just to share, Bursa Malaysia now has this ESG so-called requirement. In fact, there are a lot of companies now scrambling to go into ESG, but hopefully it's not on paper, it's really in action, so that they can actually compete globally. Mm-hmm. Because you find that why are we having this pandemic problem that driving us making us very mentally, physically fatigued for the past 2 years. Yep. It's because they're human doings.
Yeah, it's just us.
Yes, just us. So there's a generation imperative. It's all interrelated. It's not so much of, workforce. Everything's related, economy, social.
True.
And the environment.
Okay. Thank you, Doctor. So I think you have basically summed up the whole topic for today.
Of course, you said, how does it drive to productivity? Because if you toe the line according to nature, productivity will be there. Productivity is not rigid. It's not like...
Productivity is everywhere.
It's everywhere.
Yeah.
How we live our life,
Yes.
how we use, how we actually save on what we need to save.
Our lifestyle.
Yes, correct.
Our daily activities.
Yes, and everything that we have talked about today relates to productivity in many ways.
It comes down to productivity, actually.
Correct.
Yeah, right. Yes. Okay. So before I end our session, is there any words of encouragement or any advice that you would like to give to our audience today?
I said appreciate the workforce, different talents, appreciate the different opinions that people have, because every person is unique.
Yeah.
We always remember that we must agree to disagree.
Right.
And if they want to really tap on so-called the talents that we have within the organization, listen to their thinking. what are they thinking? What do they want? It's not that we have to give everything that they want.
Yep.
But, sometimes they may give some ideas on how to overcome things we never thought
Yeah.
possible.
So listen to us, right?
But your generation? Zia,
I am
why?
generation Y or
Y.
Z. Yeah, I think.
Why?
Yeah. I have a long way to go. That's all I know.
Mm.
Okay. So once again, ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of our session today. And a huge thanks to Dr. Bux for sharing on generation imperative human capital management. Okay. So I hope that you could also benefit from this session as much as I did. So thank you once again, Dr. Bux.
You're welcome.
Please stay tuned to MPC's Productivity Talk on every Friday at 3 p.m. when we go live on Facebook. And with that, I'm Abby. Stay safe, stay productive, and stay positive. So thank you.
Thank you.
And have a great weekend, Doctor.
You too, Abby.
Thank you.
Thank you.